Welcome to the Modern Monk podcast. This is episode number 18. We're talking about starting to live your dream life. Today, my name is Cormac Taylor. I'm here with Toby Chilver. How you doing, Tobes?
Feeling good, ready to rumble.
All right, man. Let's get started. Living your dream life today. What is this all about?
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little bit self-explanatory, but it's living your dream life now in the moment, not putting it off, not waiting for everything to be in place, everything to fall into line before you start living the life that you say you want for yourself. I think there's a lot of that happens where people dream about having this life that's really different to the one they're living right now, and they put it off, and they don't create that until X, Y, and Z has happened.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is trying to bring that life that you want to live forward into today. There's a lot of putting it off and waiting until all the stars align. Everything has to be perfect, and my end game life has to be lived. And before that can be lived, my life can't look anything like that. But I think the idea is we're trying to bring as much of that forward into today as physically possible. And I think this is the perfect time to start talking about it because we've just done that in a big way. Tell us what's just happened over the last few weeks.
Yeah, no, it really feels like a poignant topic right now because it's what we've done in the past month. Like, we have moved from Australia to Argentina. We have executed on the concept and the behaviours that are like fundamental to what we said our dream life was going to be. Like, we sat in a sauna in Melbourne talking about, wouldn't it be cool if our life looked like this? If we were traveling around every 2 months, experiencing new places, if we were learning new languages and integrating into cultures, if we were, creating our environments to be able to work and to work out and to have all of these different, side quests and main quests being achieved while we're living out this like extraordinary experience. And that was us sitting in a sauna in Melbourne talking about ideas for what life could look like, planning, bouncing ideas about what the dream life is. And now, like a couple of months later, we're sitting in this Airbnb in Buenos Aires in Argentina, 3 weeks into living out what feels like the dream life.
Yeah, it really does. We sat down, we were having dinner, and we're thinking, how much better does it get than this? And it was really, okay, there's some small changes to what your apartment looks like, or you're going to be in slightly different locations. But realistically, what we were doing, where we were, like the layout of our life, this was pretty close to our dream life. And this isn't something that we achieved because we're now, absolute millionaires and it's, now we can do it, now it makes sense. This was really something that we thought, how much of this can we be doing right now? There was a lot of limiting beliefs holding us back and stopping us from taking on this journey. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. But when we really thought about it, we played out, okay, what's the worst case scenario? How bad can it get? It really wasn't so bad. And the more we thought about it, the only worst case scenario is not doing it and regretting it not have done it. And there is so much of the dream life that we wanted that we could do right now. And it was just bringing that all forward into today. And here we are. One of our big dreams was, okay, we want to be living in different countries while we, work on our business and we exercise, do our day-to-day lives in different places, right? Do ordinary things in extraordinary places. And we've really started doing that. We did the maths and we thought, okay, we were, paying for rent in Melbourne, Australia. It's almost cheaper for us to fly to the other side of the world and live in these interesting places in different Airbnbs. It cost the exact same amount. It was just this limiting belief that, we can't do that. You needed a lot of money or you need to be stable. But we just brought it forward into today. And we're really pinching ourselves because there's not much about this life that's really going to change.
Yeah, and I remember another moment that happened when we were just going for a walk in the park. And we were thinking about how, we were designing this life to be in like 2-month seasons. You have 2 months in a place where you really get to, you live there, you take it all in, and then you move to a new place and you get, the benefit of the freshness, the newness, the reset of the environment, to potentially set higher standards for yourself. And suddenly, we'd booked our flights and there was 2 months left we had in Melbourne. And it was like, why are we treating this 2 months any differently to how we say we're going to treat the 2 months in Argentina or the 2 months in Mexico City? Like, you now have 2 months left in Melbourne, Australia. Like, we're saying, let's treat that as the same, treat that as the same principle. And it hits on what we're talking about now with bringing the dream life into now. It's like, you've said this is what my lifestyle is going to be like. And all that is you executing like the behaviors of what that entails. And like, that is something that you can do sooner rather than later. I think there's this weird concept that all the boxes have to be ticked before the dream life can be achieved. And it's like the final result or the reward of some, slogging through all of these obstacles.
Right.
But all that really does is delay the action that you take to making that a reality. And all you're doing is giving yourself less time to live the dream life. So you're suffering for no reason. Like, you should be creating the dream life as soon as possible, bringing it as close to your reality as possible, because then you get to reap the rewards. You're living that life sooner. And you can also then discover if it's not the dream life that you thought it was, you figure that out sooner, and then you can change and you can actually work towards living a life that you want, instead of just having this idea of what you think the dream life is, waiting 20 years until you make it a reality, and then you have this, oh no, it's not all I thought it was. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because there's what we think our dream life is and then what our actual dream life is, and oftentimes those two things aren't the same thing. But I think the first thing for us was figuring out, what does our dream life look like right now? What does that look like? And we made it very clear. It was very obvious, okay, we're kind of doing these things, we're in these places, this is kind of what the year looks like. And it was very, very clear. And the more clear it became, the more you could see, okay, a lot of these things that I'm putting off and waiting to do, I can just be doing right now. I think that was the very first thing, is being clear, because a lot of people have a vague and ambiguous dream life. And just like everything, the more vague and ambiguous, the more fear, the more doubt. When you get very specific about what it is, it's very easy to go, okay, well, I want these specific things. I can't do this right now, but these things I can be doing immediately. So let me bring all that forward. And that really came from the clarity. And that's been a big focus recently for me, is clarity, making sure that everything in my life is very clear, because the more clear it is, the less fear there is, the more action you can take immediately, the more things that you can bring forward into the moment right now. And for us, that was the first thing. It's like, okay, we want to be doing these things on our day-to-day. Okay, well, we can be doing most of these things right now. We want to be living in a different country every 2 months. Okay, we can do that right now. So let's bring that forward to right now. There are a few things that we cannot necessarily do right now that we're working towards, but a lot of these things we were able to bring forward because there was clarity. And I think the clarity was a huge start.
Yeah, clarity has to be priority for the dream life. And I think I'm thinking about the opposite. When does it feel unclear? When are things, murky waters? I think it's when you're making lots of assumptions. Oh, I think I'm going to feel like this. Oh, I think when I do this, this will be the result. The more and more you can just trial by error, like you lead with action, you actually try something. Okay, well, how did that make me feel? Okay, I'm going to the gym. I've done that for months on months on months. I know when I do that, I get this outcome. Okay, that's something I want in my dream life. Like travel, like we just booked the tickets and we're here now. We've now removed that assumption. We've now have the data. We can say, okay, this is what it feels like. Does it fit into the dream life? Is it giving us the outcome that we said we want? Yeah. Then, okay, yes, that's more clarity now that, okay, this is the right path. You're either getting reassurance or you're getting redirection, both of which are clarity. And I think that you get that when you lead with action. You bring the dream life into the now. You bring it closer to you. You make it a reality. You take action on it. Yep. You get clarity. That's
a very good point. And that brings you back into one of the earlier points you said, which is people are striving towards this end goal and this dream life they think, but when they get there, it's not necessarily what they want. And if your dream life, for example, is, okay, I want to just sit on a beach. This is my dream life. I just want to sit on a beach. You can do that now. Go and do that. Go and spend a month sitting on a beach. See if you like that. See if that's your dream life. Because if you wait 60 years to sit on a beach and realize this actually isn't my dream life whatsoever, that sucks. That's really painful. That's basically your entire life that you've spent working towards a dream that you could have realized 60 years ago was never the dream in the first place. And being able to lead with action and to be able to see very clearly what you like, what you don't like is extremely important. For example, for us right now, living in a different country every 2 months, if we decided, okay, I would do this when I'm making $100,000 a month. It's like, okay, great. That might take a few years, right? That's a few years that goes by, and then you start doing this and you realize, you know what? I don't like this. I prefer more stability. I prefer to be around certain people. I prefer to have these longer relationships. Like I don't like this constant moving. But you never would have known that if you hadn't have just done it straight away. So leading with action, starting with, okay, this is what I think I want. Let me try this first. Because there's very few things that you can't really try. Unless your goal is, okay, I want to live full-time on a private jet or a super yacht. Like a lot of these things that you can do in the moment. There is a lot of things that you can get at least an 80-20 representation of what your life is going to be like right now, and then actually realize if it's your dream life in the first place.
Yeah, and along with this idea of clarity, I think, is the alignment with living a life that then is building towards the goal end, the end result. Because, we're talking about bringing things into the now. You maybe can't bring exactly the dream life right now. You can bring elements of it, design choices, but I think there has to be alignment with what that looks like right now and how that's working towards what you're doing. And I think maybe there's a point of reflection that a lot of people would have to go to of there's lots of big things that I would need to change in my life to be able to live out my dream lifestyle right now. Maybe it's the 8 hours you spend working. What are you working on? Is that moving towards what your dream life looks like? And those are really difficult conversations to have or ideas to be thinking about. But what better time to be thinking about them than right now? Because if you ever want to live out your dream life, you're going to have to cross this bridge. And the longer that you put it off, the harder it's going to be to actually cross it. And then the less time you get on the other side of the bridge to know if it's actually where you want to be or not.
Yeah, I think we need to touch on this now, and that's what you work on. Because if we really think about it, very few people's dream life involves doing nothing, like not working at all. Yeah. A lot of our lives is going to involve some sort of work. And a lot of the time the work is what facilitates certain aspects of your dream life. But a surefire way to guarantee that you don't live your dream life is to spend 8 hours of the day doing something you don't want to do. That is almost guaranteed for you not to live your dream life. Because guess what? People that don't like their job, they don't like what they're working on, their dream life happens when they retire. Their dream life happens in 40 years' time when they can hang up the boots and just go, okay, I'm done. But that's 40 years of your entire life that you're now going to sacrifice and wait to get to a dream life that you think you want. The easiest way to start aligning with your dream life straight away is start working towards the things that you want to be doing in your dream life. What you spend the most of your time on, your North Star, what you genuinely want to do. It has to be aligned with what you actually want to be doing on your day-to-day. I think that was our biggest unlock. We both did the 9 to 5. We both worked jobs that were not fulfilling, were not enjoyable whatsoever. We didn't enjoy the majority of our time in our life in general. And that was the first thing. It was once we got rid of that and you unlock all the time back to work towards the things that you genuinely care about, you know that there's just so much opportunity right now. There's just always a way to make what you're passionate about something that you can monetize, something that you can actually do full time. And I think there's just a lot of fear, a lot of limiting beliefs that, I can't do this. This needs to be a hobby and then this needs to be my work, and they can't combine. But genuinely enjoying what you work on, I think that's like one of the most fundamental things for building out that dream life.
Yeah, work is just always going to be a key part of life, because even if it's not traditional sense of building anything, or you're going to want to develop who you are as a person. Like, I don't believe that anyone really wants to, when they picture their dream life, they picture the exact same person that they are now, just executing different things throughout the day. And you're probably imagining yourself having grown, which means you need to be working on something that works on you. And I think, it's probably the biggest unlock that we had, switching from the 9 to 5 to being able to work on things that work towards our dream life, and has allowed us now to live the dream life in the now, like because what we're working on unlocks and continues to align with the end goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think right now we have to shout out to the best thing to do, and that is entrepreneurship. I think it's not for everyone. I think it's for most people.
Yeah.
I think when we worked in a job, well, especially I'll speak for myself, you are very much limited in terms of mentally to the structure that you're in. Like you can't see beyond, okay, there's a person above me that's my manager, and like this is all there is. As soon as you remove yourself from that and you are, okay, I'm building something, I'm working, because the upside is so unlimited and your potential is unlimited and all of your work is just based on what you produce and the output, your mind expands to what's actually possible. And you realize, wow, my potential is so much bigger than what I thought it was. When you're confined to this job, it's more of a, people say like, oh, it's like a prison because you physically have to go there, but it's more a prison mentally because you're restricted in how you think, what you genuinely think is possible. And being in a vehicle where you are directly rewarded for what you produce, for your output, not how much time you spend doing something that you dislike, I think it's just an amazing opportunity, and also allows you to align your passion with your work. And realistically, the more passionate you are about your work, the better you're going to work, the better outcomes you're going to produce, the more you're going to help people, and therefore the more you're going to make. And I think just having an unlimited upside, having more freedom in terms of how big you can dream, I think it's very, very big. I think for both of us, that switch from the 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship has been big, both in our enjoyment of life, but also what we believe is possible.
Yeah, that's a huge thing I want to touch on there. Expanding how big you can dream. Like, you remember a conversation that we had, again, back in the sauna in Melbourne, when I was working my 9 to 5 job and I was in like a comfortable but not great for me long-term relationship. And you asked me like, what's your life going to look like in 5 years? And because I had the work and the relationship, I set boundaries for what was possible for me. Like my dream, like the ceiling of what my dream life, what I could achieve was limited a lot. Yeah. And now, like, coming out the other side of that, committing to being an entrepreneur, to building my own business, those ceilings have just been drastically expanded. And I think if you can mentally do that exercise before you make these big life decisions, you'll be able to set that North Star that truly represents like what your dream would be like without limitation. I think like the job is really just like, it limits how big you think for yourself and what you think is possible. And like that's something that I really resonate with, because it was so obvious to me. Like I had that defined conversation of what my dream life looked like when I was in that situation, 9 to 5, and then what my dream looked like once I decided I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And the difference between that dream life and how fulfilling and exciting it was, and the other one is just leagues apart. Like the one now, it fires me up and I'm excited and I smile when I think about it, and I'm like a little bit scared by, wow, that seems like difficult to achieve, but it's exciting and it's motivating. The other one was, oh, I guess this is going to happen, then this is probably going to happen. Like I'll make the best of this situation I'm in. Yeah. But like you are in control of your life. You get to decide what happens. And like the bigger that you can make this dream, the least amount of limitations you can put on it, probably the better life you're going to end up living.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's the expression, reach for the moon, land in the stars, something like that.
Something
I don't know which way it is. But the idea of set a huge goal, and even if you fall below the goal, you're still falling far above where you would have if you couldn't dream that big. And I think it's the exact same thing. If you have an extreme limitation on what you think is possible, you're only going to live up to that limitation that you set on yourself. But even if you set a huge ambitious goal that you think, this is really difficult, and you don't get there, you're probably going to fall far, far above where you would have otherwise. And I think setting it so big is really important. Having something that is exciting and a little bit scary, I think that's a really good spot to be in. And if something starts feeling like, oh, I'm definitely going to get there, it's time to think bigger. It's time to expand a little bit until it gets scary again.
Yeah, and some people might hear that and go, oh, but then you're constantly, you're never reaching the end, and like you're never getting that fulfillment, you're never getting that satisfaction, you're always just striving. And maybe some people are thinking, oh, that sounds really negative. Or that sounds like, oh, I'm never fulfilled, I'm never satisfied. But really the goal is to be satisfied and fulfilled in the pursuit of your goal. Like you want to be, that is what the dream is. So setting something that you never achieve should be the best thing you can do, because then you get to enjoy the process of getting there. Like if you're miserable in the pursuit of getting something, you're gonna have 5 seconds of joy in the sunlight when you achieve it, and then it's gone, and then you're back to misery.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify that, because I know sometimes it sounds like, oh, you're just, you're putting off your fulfillment or your enjoyment, or you're not actually reaching things, but that is the goal. The goal is to constantly be working towards getting better, because that is the best, or at least that's what I found is the best feeling, is like working towards improving something in my life and like enjoying that process. And I think that's what we've been able to create now, living our dream life now, is that, yeah, there's like an end goal and there's like things that we want to achieve and like things we want to improve about the dream life. But we're working, the process that we have now is living out some elements of that and improving them as we build.
Yeah.
I think that is like the key part, or the fundamental aspect of this that makes it so exciting and so like enjoyable.
Yeah, moving the goalpost forward is only a negative thing if you never enjoy getting there in the first place.
Yeah.
Like if you dislike the process and you keep moving the goalpost, then you'll just dislike your life. But that's why the goal is to enjoy the process. So then the only way that you can not enjoy your life is if you reach the goal and you don't move the goalpost and you stop. If we're constantly trying to move forward and we enjoy moving forward, then we're just constantly going to be in a state where, okay, I kind of like where I am right now. I think we've been able to find that intersection between enjoyment of our life, progress, and fulfillment. And we've been able to sit in the middle there. And I think a little bit of that has to do with the way we get our enjoyment in the first place. Because like for a very long time, we've been living with no online entertainment exposure. Like we haven't been consuming things that allow us to feel amazing in the moment at the sacrifice of tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. We've been able to align a lot of enjoyment with what we're currently doing, whether that's working on our business, working out, doing our runs, all of these things. We've been able to enjoy the moment. And because these things are also aligned with the progress towards our North Star and is incredibly fulfilling, sitting in the middle there has really allowed that dream life to just feel like this is the dream. And it means that as you are constantly progressing and moving forward, it always feels really good. And it's because we've been able to find that intersection, which I think for a lot of people is extremely hard. When working towards your goals, you're sacrificing feeling good in the moment. Hey, real quick, for all the online entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, if you want help turning distraction into 3 to 4 hours of real revenue generating deep work daily using engineered systems, not motivational willpower, you can join the Modern Monk community for free at school.com/Modern Monk. For everyone else, keep enjoying the podcast.
Yeah, and you talked about this before, about the anchoring effect of having this cheap dopamine always available. It means that you can't sit in the middle, or you don't know where to place the middle, because you're being anchored to these things that are easier to do, that feel rewarding in the moment, but create the opposite effect the next day or even just as soon as you put it down.
Yeah, exactly. I think the less that we give our brain the opportunity to reward itself for not progressing, the better we're going to be. Because historically, we've never been able to receive this cognitive reward, receive dopamine, receive this level of fulfillment from doing things that are not fulfilling, do not move you forward, do not produce progress. Like these things that we now have in our environment that are extremely alien to us, that allow us to reward ourselves despite progress, is very, very destructive on our mental well-being, I think, on aligning where we want to go, how we get there, and actually enjoying the moment. I think removing yourself from that, because it's very, very easy to access these cheap dopamines, this cheap pleasure, cheap reward without actual progress. The more that you can remove yourself from that, and the more that you can align that genuine reward with genuine progress, the better you're going to be, because you're going to start wiring your reward system to actually want to progress towards these things and enjoy doing them. And I think this is a big way that we've been able to start living this dream life.
Yeah, and okay, this also touches on a point that I wanted to get to about when the conversation we're having right now, it sounds like, oh, we have to be productive and effective all the time. Every single hour, we've got to be progressing towards building the business. You've got to be working on my health. Like everything's got to be like, we have to be making all these gains. That's not the life that we live, and that's not what it feels like at all. And I think the reality of the life that we're living now is being much more potent in a defined period of time, where it's like, okay, these are the things that I care about making progress on. I'm gonna like define a period where I'm gonna like be really potent, be really effective at like creating some progress in these areas. And then that means that there's more time to actually enjoy what that progress feels like and like live in the moment. Like we go for like 3 to 4 walks a day, just stroll around the blocks, and that experience is elevated by the fact we're in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Yeah. But I spend more time just taking in the day-to-day life, just taking in the elements, like being a bit more grounded in the present and just feeling the serotonin of, oh, I just made a little bit of progress today, or oh, I made a bit of progress yesterday, and like, oh, I get to enjoy this today. And like letting that be the dopamine and the serotonin that I receive, rather than like distracting myself with any sort of entertainment. Yeah. And I think that really feeds into the cycle of like having, defined periods of the day where you're making progress, and then having defined periods of the day where you're just enjoying what you've created.
Yeah. I think both of us right now are working less than we've ever worked in our lives. I would say outside of university, but less than we've, university was not so good, but generally we're working less than we've worked in our entire lives, but we are producing 3 to 4 times more than we've ever produced in our entire life. Output wise, it is significantly more. Yeah. And it was never about the hours that you worked. It was how effectively you worked within those hours, working at the right times, not having options to break free of that. I think we've just been able to get such insane returns on the time that we put into our activities. And because when we're not doing those activities, the time doesn't just immediately go down the drain. We can just get so much done and do so many interesting things throughout the day. As you said, go for a lot of walks. Like we go around, we can explore the place. It's very hard to get the level of output that we currently get done and also enjoy your life and spend a few hours a day scrolling. Or,
yeah.
It is physically impossible. It's just we're trading that 3 hours a day of scrolling for getting insane output and also living and doing interesting things in the real world and experiencing what's available in our life. And also allowed us and gave us the time to think, okay, if I'm not distracting myself all day, my life isn't that interesting right now. Maybe there's something I need to do about that. Rather than let me watch more entertaining stuff, let me feed the algorithm to understand me better, it's, okay, let me change my environment, let me change my life, let me change where I am, let me change it so, okay, I can do some more interesting things, I experience more. And we've been able to do both at the same time. And I think based on our output, it seems hard to have both of these things. But it's not. It's just hard to have 3 things. Yeah. And you just remove the thing that is the least rewarding and is the most destructive.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an easy choice when you set it out like that. But I know you talked about splitting the dream life into some elements and which ones you can implement sooner rather than later. I want you to expand on that.
Yeah, so we can break our dream life into 3 elements, I think. Behaviors, places, and things. I think behaviors, we think about, okay, what are we doing in our dream life? What does our day-to-day look like? I think this is the easiest one to bring forward into today. There's probably a lot of us right now who are working a job that we don't like. Why are you doing that? There are just beliefs that you currently have that you think, I need to be doing this. And they're just so strong and core to who you are that it is keeping you doing behaviors you don't want to do. But 99% of the behaviors that you want to do in your dream life, you can bring forward into today. That one is very easy to do. Places, right? Where are you right now? Most places around the world are accessible for most people. right? You may not have the biggest house or the biggest apartment. You may not be living in the biggest box, but you can have access to the majority of places, the majority of locations, and you can bring that forward into today as well. That's what we've been able to do. Last one is things. Things is the thing that you may have to work towards, right? How big is my box? What car am I driving? Although I think that's a silly one, but there are certain things that you may want that, okay, maybe I need to work towards those. That might take time. But I think for most people, they correlate these three things. I need to be doing the behaviors in the place I want to have with the things I want before I can do any of these things. But I think, first of all, you can probably start with behaviors. You can probably be doing 90% of the things that you do in your dream life. Next, the places. That's probably pretty quickly going to become accessible to you, especially if you're doing the right behaviors in the first place. Finally, things. That's just something that you work towards. The things are always going to change that you want, okay?
Yeah.
But separating those three things, and rather than thinking I need all these in place before I start.
Yeah. No, I think there's great elements to break it down into, and I think you probably couldn't think of a good thing to fill there. And I was giggling because we went looking for a rice cooker because we don't have a rice cooker in this apartment, and we eat a lot of rice. So we're cooking rice on the stovetop like every 2 or 3 days. Like that is a thing that we haven't bought because it's kind of expensive to buy, and we're living on a budget right now so that we can keep moving places, and because things are the least valuable to us. Yeah. Like unless it's providing me with more time back into my day, or it's making some element of my life a bit easier, I don't want it. Like I don't want things, because that's just junk in the life that's it's not adding fulfillment, it's not clarity on anything that you actually really want.
To clarify, we can afford a rice cooker. It's more. It's not that we can't afford a rice cooker. It's more that, okay, we have you can buy a rice cooker and then cook 2 batches of rice, then we throw it in the bin and then move to our next place. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not
No, does it make sense for the next 2 months and but yeah.
But yes.
No, and I agree. And the behaviors really, they flow on into all the other elements, the places and the things, because what you're doing defines where do you want to be when you're doing that. Like that is almost like a multiplier of how you will experience and enjoy the behaviors that you're doing. Like we could have been living this exact same lifestyle, where we had been for the past 4 or 5 years in Melbourne, and that still would have been great. But doing it here in Buenos Aires for 2 months and then in Mexico City for 2 months, that is an enhanced experience, which just makes everything better. Yeah, it's a multiplier. Yeah. And then the things are just the same. If you can buy back a little bit of time, a little bit of convenience, so that you can spend more time enjoying your life or making a bit of progress, that's just another enhancer. It's probably less of a multiplier than the places, but
yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah. For things that excite me, it's all how much time can I buy back so I do less things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's true. A lot of those, yeah. I think especially at the start, for a lot of us, buying back time is just the first thing. When I see people that are working a job they hate and then buy a really expensive car, you spend $60,000 in a car and you work a job you hate, I'm like, 3 years you could have not worked, but you decided to continue working a job you hate so you could buy a box to drive around in. To me, that is insane. I think for a lot of us, the things you should be buying back is the time to continue to do behaviors that you want to do in your dream life.
Yeah, and I think that's a key part of getting clear on what your dream life looks like, and actually working through what is required to get that outcome. We talk about model the rise, not the result. You say, oh, I want a Lamborghini and I want a mansion. It's okay, well then you need to accumulate this amount of wealth. What is actually required? What are you going to need to be doing to achieve that?
Yep.
And what is it going to bring you? So yeah, I think the idea of modeling the rise, that means that you're more likely to be enjoying the process of achieving the goal, instead of the goal being, the reward that you get at the end of doing things you don't want to do. I think that's an equation that just doesn't work for anyone. You end up being unfulfilled and not enjoying the life, and then you're not motivated to continue, progressing it, or you're motivated by really negative, dirty fuel that's probably not sustainable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of people will probably start off thinking about what their dream life is based on the lives other people are living, you know, modeling it off people they look up to, or, you know, people that have things that they think they want. And I think that's not a bad place to start, but I just think you have to be really careful about modeling the rise. Like, what did they have to do to get to this point where they're living this lifestyle? Do you also want to do that? Like, okay, you want to be a rock star. You want to be, you know, traveling around, playing your music in sold out concerts, sold out arenas. Do you want 5 years of living in a van, driving around to pubs, playing to like 6 people? Because if you don't want to do that for like 5 to 6 years, then release yourself of the desire of wanting to be a rock star. Because then you're just creating suffering because you're not willing to do the things that get the result. And so I think going through that process when you're thinking about your dream life and getting clear on what it is will help you define something that you can enjoy working towards.
That's a very good point, because if the goal is to be constantly working towards something, then we're not really striving for the destination. We're striving to enjoy the work as much as possible and what we're working towards as much as possible. What I wanted to touch on, because I think it's the biggest theme of this entire podcast, is limiting beliefs and what is holding people back and stopping people from living their dream life right now. What do you think are the biggest limiting beliefs that people currently have? What do you think is stopping people from living their dream life right now?
Yeah, I think, well, we touched on the first one, which I think is the limitations you set on yourself of what is possible. I think managing other people's expectations for your life, or my mum thinks I have to be doing this in my life, or my grandma thinks this, or my friends think this, letting that impact your dream life design, not good. And yeah, the inaction that is created by the fear of not making change. I think those are the biggest 3 for me.
Yeah. I think we just need to play out what is the worst case scenario here. Because I think when you really think about it, the worst case scenario is not living your dream life right now. The worst case scenario is you put it off and you regret having waited so long. All of this fear in the ambiguous, in the, okay, I have no clarity, I don't really know what I want, I'm not sure. This is where the fear is. Or like, oh, this is I kind of know what I want, and oh, that seems very difficult. It seems like it's going to take a while. Getting very, very clear and playing out, okay, what is the worst case scenario? Okay, I moved to South America for 6 months or 8 months. Right, I live there. I continue to work on my business every day, and I continue to work out every day, and I continue to explore the place and have different experiences. And I learn a new language. Okay, what's the worst case scenario? Well, I come back at the end of that 6 months and I've made $0. My worst case scenario, I made $0. Well, I've worked out every day, and generally when you work out every day, you eat properly, you're going to be in pretty good shape, right? And okay, you've exposed yourself to a new language for 6 months. You probably know how to speak the language now. And you've lived in 3 different countries. Well, you probably have, added a few more layers to your character. You've probably become a bit more interesting. Okay, so what's the worst case scenario here exactly? You come back and you have less money.
Yeah, and you figured out what you don't want.
You figured out what you don't want.
Which is extremely valuable, because then when you set off again, you're closer to finding what you do want.
Exactly. So you figured out what you don't want. You have a bit less money. You know a new language. You're in really good shape. You're more worldly. You're more experienced. You know what's going on. This is your worst case scenario. That is not your worst case scenario. Your worst case scenario is I continue working, doing something I don't want to do. I continue living the exact same life I'm currently living in the exact same place. I don't go and do this adventure I want to do. I live the same 6 months again, and I'm the exact same person again. That is your real worst case, but we don't accurately discount how bad just staying where you currently are and not taking on these things, not pushing the discomfort a bit, not getting in a different environment, not trying something different. This is our real worst case scenario, but we don't accurately describe it that way.
I think it's a good checkpoint if when you've designed your dream life and you go through the worst case scenario, it's better than what you have right now. then it's probably definitely a dream life, because you will have made progress towards becoming the type of person you want to be, and you would have figured out what more of what you want, with the worst case scenario of attempting to live your dream life. And that, if that's better than what you are right now, well then it's like there's no decision to be made. It's like you're taking a risk, and the downside is better than your current situation. Like that is a no-brainer decision. And I think when you're able to create that, it helps remove this fear of like, oh well, I'll just I need to do this, I need to do that. It's like, no, you need to do it right now, because you can do it right now, and because the worst case is better than right now.
Yep.
So I think that's like a good little checkpoint for, okay, you think you have clarity of what your dream life looks like. What is the worst case scenario for a year of attempting that? The worst case scenario of that should be better than your current life.
Yeah. And this is the conclusion we both came to when we quit our jobs. Was my worst case is way better not in this job than if I continue working this job. It is just night and day difference. Yeah. So I just have to take this risk, because it's actually not a risk. There's no risk whatsoever if the downside is better than your current situation.
Yeah. And I think that's like the benefit of being somewhere or working a job you don't like, or having aspects in your life that you really don't like, is that like if you try living your dream life now, it will probably be better than what you currently have. Like, use that advantage of not enjoying large parts of your life right now to the fact that even if your dream life isn't everything you think it's going to be, you're still going to be making improvements. Yeah. Like that is, it's a superpower that you should lean on if you are currently working a job you don't like.
That's a very good point. The worse your situation is right now, the easier it is for you to actually start living your dream life. I was very grateful how much I disliked my job, because you had a slightly better job than me. Like, your job was definitely, you had better, your hours were better, you had, a bigger office, you were getting paid more.
Slightly more enjoyable work.
More enjoyable, yeah. It was more comfortable. And I was very grateful for how much I disliked my work, because it was like, okay, I really don't like this. My worst case scenario is just that I continue doing this. This is very easy for me to get out. For you, it was a little bit harder because you enjoyed your job a little bit more. There was more benefits. But even for you, it's like, okay, well, the downside of me leaving and living my worst case is just better than what I'm currently doing. So it's very, very easy. I think, yeah, if you think your situation is bad right now, that's good, because that means it's very easy for you to just start living the better life right now.
Yeah, and we talked about this a couple of days ago, that your mind will always try looking for like what's not going right now, or what's the one thing that I'm upset with, or that's the biggest drain on my day or on my week. And attempting to live your dream life, bringing it to right now, raises that floor to where the worst thing that you have to think about is a lot better than what it used to be. Like for me, it was, I've got to rock up to work for 8 hours, like the peak hours of the day where all of the sunlight is, where all of my energy is, and I have to trade it away to, to doing something that is not fulfilling, that I don't want to do, that, just is something that I hate. And now, the biggest things are really minuscule parts of my day of, I didn't feel grounded when I was meditating today, or, there's really not that much that comes to mind. And I think the difference between the lowest thing that you think about, or the worst thing that you think about in your life, raising that up will have a dramatic effect on how you experience life.
Yeah. It's this idea of problem trading. Like, we're never not going to have problems. We'll always have problems until the day we die. From the day we were born till the day we die, we're going to have problems. Our goal is not, let me remove problems entirely. Our goal is, how do I trade my current problems for better problems? If your current problem is, I hate my existence 8 hours of the day, 5 days of the week, and you remove that current problem, you're still going to have another problem, but it's probably going to be a little bit better. And then guess what? You're going to identify the next problem. You're going to figure out how to solve it. You're going to implement. You're going to resolve that problem, and you're going to have a better problem. And we just keep trading our problems up and up until we're in a position where we think, okay, well, yeah, not being grounded in my meditation today was the biggest problem I had of the day. That's a pretty good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're we're always going to have these problems, so don't try and avoid them. But we want to try and trade our worst problems for slightly better problems. So again, it's clarity. Identify what is the biggest problem right now. How do I resolve this? How do I trade it for a better one?
Yeah, and I mean, my mind just keeps coming back to this idea of the own limiting beliefs that you have about what your dream life can look like. Like, you don't think that that can be your worst problem, or you don't believe that, you know, you can make these big changes for your life, but it all just happens incrementally when you start having these conversations with yourself and you start actually allowing yourself to dream, like, what could it really look like? And you start like opening those doors, because really, like, they're there for you to open them. It's just, you have to have that serious conversation with yourself of like, well, could this be better? Like, am I made for more? And it's difficult, because you have to face what seems like this really unsurmountable amount of change that you have to make. But there's nothing more rewarding than just taking little micro steps towards building that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. All right, well, how can we start now? What could we be doing right now to be starting to live our dream life?
Well, I think before we get into that, I kind of want to touch on the 80-20 principle and how fundamental that's been to our lifestyle design, and kind of how that contributes to the progress that we've been talking about. Because what I believe is that you should be integrating the 80-20 principle into your dream life. It speeds up the rate that you can maintain and achieve whatever the current goalposts are. So if you think about the life we're living right now, it's made up of like lots of different things, and each brings us the maximum return of like enjoyment that it can, without us extending into those diminishing returns. And I think ultimately everyone's dream life will have different elements to it. It'll have different things. You don't want to spend 100% of your time just working on your business, or 100% of your time just working on your relationships. Your life needs some sort of diversity. And I think when you're thinking about designing your dream life, you should be thinking about allocating the right amount of resources to be getting the maximum amount of return in each of those areas. Because then you're going to feel fulfilled. You're not going to have some lacking component to your life, which becomes your biggest problem.
No, that's very important. I think one of the big things was managing expectations when we were here. When we got ourselves here into South America, and we think, okay, we have a good idea of what our life is going to look like right now. Like, we kind of know what's going on in the day-to-day. And then you get people going, oh, you got to do this. And oh, you got to do this. And you got to do this. And having this 80-20 diminishing returns principle in mind, it's like, I could do this, but if I decide to do this, then I sacrifice everything else. For example, for us, North Star is our business. That is our number one thing. So, okay, the first few blocks of the day, they're allocated to our business. When we have peak cognitive load, when we can get the best returns in our time, that's allocated to that. Okay, next, our next biggest priority is our health. So after that, okay, we do something related to our health, whether that's going to the gym or going for a run. So, okay, fantastic. On the topic of health and also of improving our work, we need to get sleep. Like, we need to sleep really well. Okay, so we want to allocate 9 hours a night to sleep, something like that. It's like, okay, this is the structure of our day right now. So then all the fun stuff fits in after all of that. If it is, okay, I want to go, you got to go out night clubbing. You got to go out night clubbing because you're in Buenos Aires. It's like, okay, so my day looks like this then. I have my few hours of the day where I have my work blocks, and then I work out. Okay, let's say it's 3 p.m. Well, it's probably about 4 or 5 p.m. now. So, okay, cool. So now I'm going to do whatever for a few hours, and then, okay, we're going to start our pre's around 10 p.m. And then, okay, we might hit the nightclubs at 1 a.m. And then, okay, we're going to be out of the nightclubs until 5 a.m. So, okay, then you can go to bed at 6. It's like, all right, so now I'm going to completely sacrifice all of my sleep here. And then the next day I'm going to wake up, I'm going to get a terrible work block. I'm probably not going to want to work out, so I'm probably not going to do that. Oh, but you got to do the nightclubs. It's like, no, you actually don't. And we can get 80% of that, right? Without staying up until 5 p.m. We can still go out and experience the places, but this doesn't fit into my life. And just because other people who do a trip to South America are going to nightclubs 3 nights a week, doesn't mean that it's something that we have to do. And I think it was, how can we do each of the elements of our life, fit each of these into our life in using the 80-20 principle. So, okay, I want to work on my business, but I don't do that all day. I want to get in good shape, but I don't work out 4 hours a day. Okay, so I'm 80-20 principling these things. My enjoyment, my afternoons where I enjoy what I do. Again, I'm going to 80-20 principle this. I'm not staying up till 5 a.m., right? I'll go to bed at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., right? And being able to fit all these things into our life happens because, yes, there's expectations that people have about what you should do, but it's not what do other people think you should do. It's, okay, what should you do? How does this fit into your life? And I think having the 80-20 principle there is very helpful. Okay, the diminishing returns are going to kick in big time here and it's going to affect everything else. Okay, I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, it's like it becomes the threshold for what you should say no to. Because like you're designing your dream life, you're adding things, there's going to be this and there's going to be this and there's going to be this. That also means no to this, that, and the other and everything else that other people want. Like you have to be able to say no to those things. And it's a lot easier to say no when you can say, I'm not going to do that because I would have to sacrifice this, this, and this. And those things are, they're core to the fulfilling dream life that I enjoy living every day.
Yeah.
That makes it an easy no. But when you haven't defined that or you're not clear on what that is, then it becomes harder to say no to these like one-off cool experiences, but they end up, having a big impact on you being able to live your dream life or making progress towards continuing living your dream life. So I think that's an important differentiation to make is, living your dream life doesn't mean you're going to be able to say yes to every cool opportunity that happens. Like you have to have a little bit of restraint about saying no to the things that aren't actually aligned with your dream life. And that'll be like a process of realization that, okay, if I want to live this dream life, it means that I can't do this. Are you okay with that? Like really think it through. Are you okay with like not doing this like or ever or very rarely? Because if you don't like come to terms with that, then you're constantly going to have this thought that it won't feel like your dream life because you will feel like you're saying no to the things that you want. But you just either need to release that desire if it's not fitting or change what your dream life looks like and be really serious with yourself about what is included and what is not included. What are you saying no to?
Yeah, and for us, this was saying no to a lot of novel experiences, a lot of things that they're cool one-off, or this will be amazing, but then at the end of it, you're like, okay, that's fine. I've done that once. I probably don't really want to do it again. The things that are in our dream life, we live every day, and they don't really get that old. Like yesterday, we went for a long run. We ran for a bit over 2 hours, and it was like this was the best run of my entire life. I've done this 3 days a week for over a year now. Or these when we go to the gym, it's like I love this every single day. I love this. If I went to see the Eiffel Tower every day, after 2 days, that's getting boring. Going out to a nightclub, that gets boring really, really quickly. All of these novel experiences, especially experiences not tied to moving you towards the North Star, towards your goalposts, generally they get boring really quickly. And that's why I think if your dream life is to sit on a beach, go sit on a beach. It's going to get boring after about 2 days. And that's why for us, I think our dream life is so connected to that progression towards where we wanted to go to. And I think it meant sacrificing a lot of these novel experiences that were going to sacrifice the progress towards our main goal.
Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier, ordinary things in extraordinary places. Like we have found that the things that we do again and again and again, the ordinary things, the spending work on your business, the working out, the playing sport, the going to a new cafe or trying out a new restaurant. These are things that every time we do them, they get a little bit more enjoyable, like comparing doing it this week to last week or this month to last month. Like these are the same actions that are just getting more and more enjoyable. That's a great indication that you're living your dream life because things are just the same things you're doing are getting better and better.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good indicator of what we're talking about here. And the opposite of that is also true. If you go do this amazing one-off experience and it completely changes how you have to live the rest of your week, that's not overall improving your experience of life, and it's also not working towards your end dream goal, which I think is why it's so unfulfilling and why it's not something that you can do consistently, and it just gets less and less enjoyable if you repeat it.
Yeah. Okay, if you think about certain activities you do, for example, if you're someone who scrolls a lot, first time you scroll that felt really good, diminishing returns very quick. Next time didn't feel so good. Next time after that, this is getting pretty boring. This is kind of the new normal. Those are the activities that generally aren't going to fit into the dream life because they're just not sustainably enjoyable, partially because they're not linked to progress. Trying to find these activities that don't get old that quick is pretty good. I think that's what we've been able to do. And I think a lot of that does have to do with the link to the progress and achievement, because it means that you can do activities, especially if you don't have a lot of easy things that feel really good. These things become things that feel really good, but also the after effect of, oh, I've just progressed, I've just moved forward. It's like a multiplier on that experience. And it means you get to the end of the day and you feel amazing, but you also felt amazing throughout the day. And I think that is really what a dream life looks like, is let me enjoy the moment and enjoy the end of the day for what I've accomplished, not let me enjoy the moment to sacrifice the day or to sacrifice any sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, it's just better trade-offs. Like the things you're doing are they're not the 100% most enjoyable thing, but they give the best return, the most lasting return that seeps out into everything else that you do, that just elevates your baseline experience. Like the baseline, because like that is your life. Your life is the baseline. Like there's going to be peaks of it's your birthday, or you go skydiving one day, and troughs, but the baseline is like the normal average Tuesday. Like what does that look like? And like that's what we're designing here, and that's what you're trying to bring into the now, is like raising that baseline. What do those things look like? Where are you?
Yeah. I want us to do an entire podcast on creating the perfect day. So I think that's one thing that we're really starting to perfect. But that is a completely other topic that will take us all day if we do talk about it.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up this podcast with, what are the 3 things that you can do today to live your dream life right now?
For me, I'm going to first come back to model the rise, not the result. So I think find inspiration for people who are living extraordinary lives that you think you want to live, and get really clear on how they achieve that. What does that look like? What would that look like right now, so that you can, in 10 years' time, have that outcome? Model the rise, not the result. I would do some work thinking about the character that you're going to become at this end result, which you're not really going to get to because you're going to keep moving the goalpost. But what are the traits you're going to develop? Because that's going to define what obstacles you're going to be overcoming. What problems are you going to want to solve? Like if you want to become a really patient person, then you're going to have to tackle problems that require you to develop patience. Like those are things that you need to design into your dream life. And thinking, starting with the North Star of what that person looks like, what traits do they have, I think will help trickle down into, what does it look like right now? What do I need to be tackling? And I think the last thing that's been very helpful to us has been mapping that out into stages. Because the goalposts are going to be here. I want to have these really big, ambitious goals. Then there's probably like an intermediate stage that you can get to, where you're adding in a few different things, or you're changing the places, or some of the behaviors are improving. And then there's probably the things that are actionable right now in this early stage that you can implement. And I think when you can break that down, then the first step becomes a lot easier. And as we all know, the most important step is the first step. It's taking action right now. So model the rise, not the result. Decide the kind of person you want to become at the end of all this, and map it out into stages so you can take the first step right now and eliminate that fear of inaction.
Yeah, I love that, especially the end step there, which is taking the action now. Because if you model the rise and if you figure out the person you want to become, but then you don't start moving towards it, then this just becomes scarier and more of a monster. But we've talked about this a lot. As soon as you just take one step into it, like fear is a mile wide, an inch deep, as you say a lot, right? It is just taking that first step, because you realize, okay, that wasn't so bad after all. And then you're going to start getting a little bit more ambitious and go, oh, you know what? Maybe I could do this and this and this. And then you start really building a bit of momentum towards who you want to become, rather than just sitting with this as a big dream and then not actually moving any way towards it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. So that first step, it's the third thing, but it's the most important is getting started.
Yeah.
Okay, for you, what are the 3 things that you'd be doing, or what would you be telling yourself 5 years ago, 1 year ago?
Well, first of all, you need to identify, okay, what does my dream life look like? Clarity, like real clarity. Break it down. Like what does this look like? Because if you don't know exactly what it looks like, then what are you working towards? This is like for anyone who joins the Modern Monk community, the first thing that we do is we figure out, okay, what is your North Star? Because you can't orient anything towards anything unless you know where you're going. No direction is good or bad unless it leads you towards a specific outcome, a specific place. And if it's not clear where you're going, it's very hard to orient any of your movements. So the clarity is the first thing. Okay, exactly what do I want my dream life to look like today? Then break it down into the elements. Okay, what behaviors, what places, what things do I have? And what can I just be doing right now? What of those behaviors, places, or things can I unlock immediately? Like, what is holding me back? Why can't I just do this right now? Of those things, do the ones that you can do right now, right? That's the second step. And then the third step is look at your limiting beliefs. Clearly state, write this down. What are the reasons that I cannot do these elements of my dream life? What is the reason that these can't be the reality right now? Write these down, look at them, and then really question them. Before you accept these as the reasons that you can't start now, really challenge them. And if you realize, okay, you know what, I can do it, continue to do it. But everything you know you can do right now, do it. Everything you think you can't do right now, why? Why can't you do it? Really challenge it. And if you truly can't do it, it's like, okay, cool, now I know what I'm working towards. But everything else, just bring into the present. As much as we can bring forward into today, the better. So that it's very clear what we actually have to work towards, rather than what we could already have, but we just don't believe it's possible.
Yeah, I love that. Having the clarity so you know what you can do right now. And then I think there's a lot of power in writing down your limitations. What do you say? What is the reason you can't do that? Because you're going to look at that and then you're going to imagine yourself reading that in 10 years. Are you going to still be happy with reading that and accepting that as your reality? Like, that is not possible. It's, something that you've accepted as you can't change.
Right now.
Yeah.
You can't have this right now. Yeah. But then it's become something that you work towards. So in 10 years, you probably have it. You think, okay, yeah, I genuinely couldn't have had that right now. You don't want to look at that in 10 years' time and think, I could have done this right now. That is a stupid belief that I had, right? That's what we want to avoid at all costs. Right? For example, for us, if we decided, okay, I need to wait another year before I can do this, before I can start living this nomadic lifestyle. There's something else I need. I need to be making $1 million a year before I can do this. You would look back on that and think, no, you don't. This is cheaper than what you were living before. You could have been doing this. We could have been doing this a year ago, right? So
yeah,
bring as much forward into today. Look at your beliefs that are preventing you from living the life you want to live right now. Really question it. And if you go, okay, yeah, I really can't do that right now, fine. But I think you'll find that most things you can.
Yeah, and if you just keep asking that why question, you'll get more and more clear on what is the actual thing that's stopping you, or you might just come to the realization that there is nothing. You just weren't clear on what you really needed to do.
Yeah, and that just brings it back to the first point about clarity. More clarity, the better. Yeah.
Clarity is number one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, this has been a really cool podcast to do, having 3 weeks into a huge change in bringing a lot of our dream life into right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this has been a big step up. If you're watching this compared to our previous podcast, the production quality hopefully stepped up a little bit. We're trying to get a little bit more professional. And yeah, I think we're going to continue to just live our dream life, just live it, and it just become closer to that end game destination. But there's already so few things that we need now. A lot of it is just, okay, some small things. Like, okay, maybe I'll outsource more of this so I can get even more of my time back. But there's not a lot of things that are going to change, and I think that's the position that most of us can be in right now. Yeah,
and I think we're pretty confident talking about this stuff as truth, because we've lived it. We have the data to say, like, okay, well, we did this and it's really, really good. And I wish I could give this to myself earlier and to more people now. Like, when I call my parents, they're like, why are you smiling so much? Like, I just can't stop myself from smiling when I'm talking about the things that I'm doing and the life I'm living. And we keep having these pinch me moments when we're just walking around doing these things that, wow, we said this is what we want from our dream life, and now we're making it happen.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Everything has come true so far.
Everything's come true, and it's been better than we expected it to be. So
yeah,
I'm keen to keep on going.
Me too. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.